gigantic creature which repeatedly attacked humans. Humans made various plans to kill it, but no one could kill it because it possessed nuclear power, which caused any injury to its body to instantly heal. At the beginning of the story, we see a Japanese pilot, Shikishima. After a while, he reaches an island where fighter jets were being made. There, a group of mechanics expresses anger upon seeing him alive because they believed that with the destruction of the plane, he should have died as well. For the Japanese, giving one's life for the country is a great honor. Then, Shikishima notices many dead fish floating from the deep sea, which astonishes him. In fact, these fish had died due to Godzilla's nuclear radiation from the depths of the ocean. That night, suddenly, the danger siren inside the island goes off. Everyone thought that the enemy had attacked, but in reality, a huge, terrifying monster known as Godzilla to the Japanese emerges from the sea and attacks the island. Everyone hides to save themselves and watches from a distance as Godzilla wreaks havoc. When Godzilla approaches them directly to attack, Shikishima quickly grabs the 20mm powerful gun from the plane and moves to shoot at Godzilla. But upon seeing Godzilla's form, he gets scared and doesn't have the courage to shoot, instead hiding quietly. As a result, Godzilla attacks the mechanic team and mercilessly kills almost everyone. The next morning, after regaining consciousness, Shikishima sees that the entire island has turned into rubble, with dead bodies scattered around. The only surviving mechanic, Tachibana, was gathering the bodies. With great anger, Tachibana scolds Shikishima, saying, "If you had shot, maybe everyone would have survived today. It is because of soldiers like you that Japan has lost today." At this point, Shikishima and the other soldiers are sent back to mainland Japan on a ship. Shikishima returns to his destroyed area with great humiliation and pain. The next day, in the market, some people were chasing a woman because she was allegedly stealing food. While running, the woman suddenly hands her child to Shikishima and runs away. Shikishima stands there stunned, not knowing what to do, but he cannot leave the innocent child behind. As he was taking the child home, the woman, named Ayashi, returns and thanks him. Ayashi explains that she found the child on the road and ended up in this situation while stealing food to survive. After hearing everything, Shikishima takes them both into his home because he felt a deep affection for the child. In the morning, as Shikishima was leaving his house to look for work, his neighbor Noriko jokingly asks, "Did you bring a girl home without marrying her? What's going on between you two?" However, when Noriko learns that Ayashi is not the mother of the child, but is with him to protect the child, she feels sympathy for the child and voluntarily offers to help take care of the child. A few days later, one day when there was heavy rain, Shikishima happily tells Ayashi that he has found a job, a mission to destroy the mines left by Japan and America scattered in the sea. Although the job is dangerous, the pay is quite good. Though Ayashi initially refused to let him go for such a dangerous job, at that time the need for money to survive was far greater. So Shikishima convinces her, and the next morning he sets off for his new job. Arriving at the shore, he finds that some regular workers and a scientist named Kenji are waiting for him, who had created numerous weapons for Japan during Second World War II. Everyone starts working together to destroy the mines scattered in the sea, and Shikishima skillfully fires his weapon to blow up the mines. His colleagues are very pleased when they see this. Meanwhile, the United States continues testing its atomic bombs through an experiment called Operation Crossroads. The radiation from these tests completely mutates Godzilla, who is hiding deep in the sea, turning it into a massive, terrifying monster. One day, Shikishima invites his colleagues to his house. During dinner, he reveals that he has no relationship with Ayashi and the child. He has only given them shelter. Hearing this, everyone praises him. Thus, some peaceful days pass. Then, in March 1947, Ayashi happily informs that she has found a job and will be leaving the house now. Hearing this, Shikishima is deeply hurt because by that time he had truly fallen in love with Ayashi. Meanwhile, a mysterious event occurs near Japan in the Pacific Ocean, where an American submarine and a large warship are mysteriously destroyed. After an initial investigation, they detect the presence of a strange creature beneath the sea, which is slowly moving toward Japan's mainland. At this time, Shikishima's team is sent to investigate the area of the destroyed ship. Upon arriving, they are shocked by the catastrophic destruction they witness. Seeing this, Shikishima recalls the Godzilla that attacked the island. After the investigation, on the way back home, Shikishima notices dead fish floating in the sea, similar to the events that occurred on the island that day. He immediately realizes that Godzilla must be nearby. They quickly sound the sirens and warn all the boats in the area. In a few moments, Godzilla attacks a nearby boat, and everyone is stunned by the sight of such a massive and terrifying creature. They try to escape quickly, but by then, Godzilla has followed them. They try to fend off Godzilla using the boat's guns, but all their efforts fail in the face of such a gigantic creature. Then they come up with an idea to throw a mine from the boat into the water, planning to blow up Godzilla. The mine is properly thrown into the water, and Godzilla takes it into its mouth. But surprisingly, the wire attached to the mine was broken, so they couldn't detonate it. At that moment, Shikishima courageously shoots into Godzilla's mouth. The shot hits the mine, causing it to explode, and Godzilla falls completely silent. Everyone thought Godzilla had been killed, but within moments, the wounds on his face heal quickly, and he comes back to life. Now Godzilla approaches them in a rage, ready to attack. At that very moment, a warship fires shells from a distance, injuring Godzilla, but Godzilla dives underwater and launches a direct attack on the warship. As the ship was almost destroyed, Godzilla unleashes his terrifying superpower, the atomic breath. Believe me, Godzilla's atomic breath was incredibly terrifying. The injured soldiers were stunned by the sight. Shikishima regains consciousness on a hospital bed. The next day, the Japanese Navy attempts to destroy Godzilla by surrounding it with mines and detonating them, but it had no effect. By then, Godzilla had reached very close to Japan's mainland. Meanwhile, a city located by the sea sounds alarms, and the radio warns everyone about a giant creature that has emerged on the beach. In a few moments, Godzilla attacks the city. Meanwhile, Aishi was traveling to her work by train. Before she could realize, Godzilla strikes the train. Almost everyone inside the train dies instantly, but Aishi survives by some miracle. Meanwhile, Godzilla destroys the entire city. Amid this massive panic, people were running to save their lives, and Aishi suddenly collapses on the ground. By chance, Shikishima is there and rescues Aishi. Just then, the army tanks begin firing at Godzilla, which makes Godzilla even more enraged. Godzilla starts charging up with nuclear energy again in front of everyone. Then he unleashes his atomic breath, causing a massive nuclear explosion. At this moment, Aishi sacrifices her life to save Shikishima. In an instant, the city turns to rubble, and nearly 30,000 people lose their lives in the explosion. Afterwards, the Japanese military and scientists hold an emergency meeting to discuss how to destroy Godzilla, with Shikishima also present. In the meeting, two plans are made. First, to drown Godzilla 1,500 meters underwater using friend gas to kill him. The reason for the plan to drown Godzilla 1,500 meters underwater is that the immense water pressure will prevent him from using his nuclear power, and he will die within a few minutes. The second plan is to lift Godzilla up quickly using a huge balloon if the first plan fails. This would cause a drastic change in pressure, weakening Godzilla due to the immense pressure at such depths, and when lifted to the surface, he would be vulnerable due to the lack of water pressure, ultimately leading to his death. That night, Shikishima and scientist Kenji come up with an alternative plan. If both their original plans fail, Shikishima plans to sacrifice himself by using a bomber aircraft to destroy Godzilla. Despite everyone urging him not to do this, Shikishima is determined to avenge Aishi's death by destroying Godzilla. Seeing his determination, Kenji reluctantly takes him to a prototype fighter jet, which is still incomplete. After seeing the plane, Shikishima comes up with ideas to modify it. He then goes to Tachibana, the mechanic who survived the Godzilla attack on the island, and tells him everything. Tachibana helps Shikishima complete the plane. Later that night, they detect nuclear readings in the sea and realize that Godzilla is very close. Tachibana gives Shikishima instructions on how to fly the plane and urges him, "You must try to survive. At least for the child, you should try to survive." The next morning, everyone waits in the sea with ammunition ready for Godzilla. After waiting for some time, Godzilla arrives on the shore and starts attacking. Seeing this, Shikishima quickly flies the plane and heads out to annoy Godzilla. He fires at Godzilla in various ways to irritate him. He lures him into the sea by leading him behind his plane. As per the plan, the remaining officers in the sea send an empty ship in front of Godzilla. Godzilla becomes enraged and starts firing his atomic breath. As a result, the empty ship is destroyed. Although everyone is terrified, the scientists ask them to remain calm, because once Godzilla uses his atomic breath, he needs some time to recharge before using it again. They start surrounding Godzilla from all sides with their ships. After much effort, they manage to tie up Godzilla with ropes from all sides. Upon seeing all this, Godzilla becomes enraged again. When he had recharged himself, they triggered all the gas cylinders to explode. As a result, Godzilla begins sinking into the water. After reaching 1,500 meters deep, his atomic charges are destroyed. The people above wait to see if Godzilla is dead, but just then, they feel a tug on the rope from below the water and realize that Godzilla is still alive. So, according to Plan B, they inflate the balloon to quickly lift Godzilla up. But at this point, after rising 800 meters, their second plan fails. In fact, Godzilla had torn apart the balloons and kept himself still underwater. They try to lift Godzilla with the ship's cranes, but Godzilla was so powerful that their ships couldn't lift the weight. Just then, a group of pirates arrives to help them. They bring several boats and together try to pull Godzilla up. Finally, Godzilla rises to the surface. At this point, Godzilla's body is completely torn up, but even then, Godzilla was extremely strong. Out of anger, he begins recharging himself. As Godzilla prepares to attack them, Shikishima flies towards him in his plane. Before Godzilla can react, Shikishima detonates his plane inside Godzilla's mouth. Everyone is stunned by his sacrifice. Everyone salutes him in honor. But in the next moment, they see Shikishima exiting the plane and descending with a parachute. Before boarding the plane, Tachibana had installed an emergency ejection system to save him. As a result, Shikishima survives the terrifying battle. Since Godzilla's atomic breath cannot escape his mouth, it explodes inside his body, tearing him apart. Meanwhile, Aishi is seen in the hospital. She is severely injured but still alive. On the hospital bed, Shikishima and Aishi break down in tears as they reunite. And thus, the unforgettable story ends. Let us know how you liked the story by commenting. Thank you so much for watching the video.